See if I got a live here. Yep, there we go. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is wow, breaking, massive, explosive, and rather shocking news. And some of it with Canada is par for the course, but to be published, now everybody can't make this stuff up. Donald J. Trump just finished a White House press release after having a good break yesterday. Of course, our day for our petition on the 25th, and it was over Canada's corruption that now explodes. You'll find it on Politico. You'll find it absolutely, are you ready for this? Government Affairs, Foreign Affairs Canada, the new 2026 report on the path forward that is a complete lie on everything Mark Carney not only campaigned on, elbowed up on, ratcheted up both Liberals and Conservatives in a clear majority. Everything he said, everything he did, everything media's promoted all the way till today is completely myth-busted and blown up. Because when you go on the Canada government website on Foreign Affairs, you will find a truth where Mark Carney is cutting and gutting all American and American ally trading partners entirely from all of not only our diplomats, our foreign advisor specialists in place in these countries. And of course, USA is huge because 34. Now, folks, I love to dig deep. Folks, that's more than the Republican states of the Union. More than that, it's half the Democrat states too. Half. Only a handful are left in place. You probably already guessed, it's the northern states, the corrupted states of the Union, from that northern border of migration of crazy lunatic radical ideology that is entirely Whig and Tory. If Americans don't know, this is the oldest war on America that America's faced since day one. And a new special's come out, a new movie, a lot of people are sharing that with me, the 30 years before the American Revolution, dealing with the British Whigs and Tories. For Americans, up until just a couple decades ago, you never used the words conservative or liberal. That was never, ever in your lingo. Never was. Up until just a few decades ago. Largely through church understate organizations globally that may not operate that way in America. Certainly a mass majority operate that way globally. And they brought that in. They've corrupted a base of the conservatives, Republicans, aka MAGA, all of it. Not so much the MAGA, but the rest of the Republican base. Yes, it's a small minority, but still it's effectual. Now in Democrat land, it absolutely infects a majority of Democrats. But the nice part is when you add that, it's not a minority, it's about a 40 percentile of Democrats, and you throw that in with that major majority of Republicans, you clearly have a overwhelming House, Senate majority, congressional majority. But the problem is, folks, is Canada doesn't care. If you've missed it, Ukraine, absolutely, in 2022, under Democrats, led by none other than Canada, UK, and what we call the D6. These are partners, breakaways like Denmark, no surprise over Greenland. UK, Brexit was actually the destruction of Canada, because when UK left the European Union and they can only pull two partners with them from the European Union, still they won't quit the European Union, but they'll align themselves economically with the UK because they're crown too. They're saying, well, France isn't quite there, and France is running the EU, and they're still with the USA. So we're going to do our own because we need to maintain the British Empire. And these lunatics, this is published officially. This is crazy Mark Carney, and I mean nutty Mark Carney, who thinks that he's going to make a deal with the BRICS nations. He's going to get a deal with China and India after absolutely going against Russia, who's really the massive military might of BRICS, right? USA fears nobody else in the world at all. Well, really they don't, but a tit for tat at the highest kind of military level, space and nuclear warfare, that's Russia. And I want to be clear about something else before I continue on with this. Maybe Americans don't realize this. I know Canadians don't. But nuclear warfare can happen in the upper atmosphere. You don't have to actually hit ground targets. You can launch from space platforms over a region way up high altitude, set off a nuclear explosion long before interceptors, all of that, and then it's an EMP to everybody below. I don't think people understand nuclear or have the respect for it or the knowledge of it, which brings me again back to why I brought this up, is that Mark Carney has neutered all our highest level nuclear specialists in our global foreign affairs Canada. He's neutered all those folks. They don't have a spot anymore. They're losing their jobs. He's pulling back everybody that was part of the European Union Nuclear Commission in Europe and absolutely the United States of America. Folks, that's the mark. And it's funny I say that. That's the mark of crazy radical, and it's Mark Carney. Oh yeah, everything opposite to what he says. He makes an announcement, we made 2%, and guess what Donald J. Trump says? No, you didn't. It was just released in a press release. Goes further on, he smashes Keir Starmer again. He says, listen, that guy effed us over. He even says the shit. He says those words. He says, it's shit. He says those words today. If you've missed it, go back and watch it. UK pulling puppet strings. Mark Carney's a puppet on Keir Starmer's lap. Whatever Keir Starmer says, Mark Carney, if he was talking one way, yes, master, nope, I changed my mind. And this is why the liar, Pierre Poilievre, and Joe Rogan, that so many conservatives get so upset about. And, no, it's not true. It's always been true. Whig, Tory, they've always been one thing. And they will always take the puppet master right up their rear end, talking for their mouth. And that's how it is. They will lie. They will say whatever to get your votes, to get your support. And when they get into power, the Keir Starmer hand puppet master goes up his butt and he starts talking for him. Brexit was UK's failure. It was we're going to re-implement the empire. No, USA went, get out of the way, dirty son of a bitch. And they did. And now UK's desperate. UK is going all the way with so many terrible ideas, so many ops, psychological warfare, best in the world at it, propaganda, all of it. A lot of Iran is central to absolutely the UK. People sending me things about the Pakistani flags. That was Pakistan's day, and that was the present, the Iranian regime, which you can go look at on the news as those 10 oil tankers are going up the coast being shipped to the United States as please, we want to negotiate. Contrary to what everybody says, contrary, and I'm going to tell everybody this, I don't care, American, Canadian, this guy has read every single constitution of every nation in the world. Iran is no different. And when parliamentarians in Iran get on pulpits and start going, blah, 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 we're going to do this to America, that's for their base at home. That's for all their people. Yeah, we're tough. They have zero, and I repeat, zero constitutional authority to say or do any of the things they claim they're going to do or steps against the United States. Zero, zip, zilch. And remember, that's a Muslim Islamist state, Sharia law. And I'm sorry, none of what they say is remotely constitutional in their highest laws of the land. But oh, don't worry, the media's going to tell you, the rhetoric UK is going to say, don't worry about all that. We don't even have a written constitution forever and a day. We're a garbage can country of slaves and subjects and colony empire that's rapidly crumbling, folks. It's crumbling so bad, they lost their G7 way. They've lost, now they call it the D8. It's now a D6. If you've missed it, US took Japan. UK is going like this fast. And unfortunately, Canadians, your constitution says you will sacrifice everything for the glory of that shit, including your own sovereignty, which you always have, including your own pursuit of self-determination and self-government, which we clearly don't, because people like Mark Carney got the Keir Starmer hand up his rear end and he talks for his mouth. Mark Carney does, and he gets rich for it. He was central to the UK, the royal family, the Prime Minister of the time, which I'm sad to say was conservative, was a Tory. Wake up, folks. Wake up. Can't make this stuff up. Johnson did what he did, and he was conservative. He was absolutely bested and invested in Mark Carney, central bank governor of London from Canada. Oh yeah, Mark Carney's the architect and the current war on America. He thinks in his deluded socialist and fascist brain, because it's worked for him, the royal family and lineage has worked for his first-class ass, at the expense of all of you. And Canadians don't know this, conservative, liberal. They just, I'm an elbows up Canadian. You're losing everything. We're losing our status. We're about to go through serious trade repercussions like no other country ever before on the world stage post-World War II. And when I say that, look at the devastation of things like Venezuela. We can go into the Middle East, African regimes, all of it, the worst of the worst. Trump was just talking about Somalia and the corruption. Well, Canada, that's you. That's you under these people. And we are finito. I can say that absolutely. We are finito. Mark Carney has set the stage for no trade deal, USMCA, going forward with the United States. Not the United States. All that they have said for now over a month in relation to, well, Canada's not trading with us. They're going their own way. That's true. Any of your Canadian politicians, premiers, the rest of it, they have no intentions of going forward with the United States. That is now clearly published. They're all in bed. Our petition was deadly accurate, 100% truthful, and you see a lot of that presentation in Donald J. Trump today. Even the way he speaks now, he's sitting back as president of UNSC through Mike Waltz. This is global presidency of the UNSC. As I told all of you, you're seeing a more restrained Donald J. Trump and not in your face. I even laughed at the comments of Maggie, like, why isn't Trump doing it? He must be cloned. And it's like, no, he's not cloned. He's expanding. He's growing. He's learning like no other president ever before him. He understands military operations. He understands the role of the United States. He understands the world very well. He knows all the players. I like what was said on X by some Americans and Canadians. He's beyond 3D chess for these checker players. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate where Canada's going to be by July of this year, going into August. Canadians, we are devastated. And again, when you look at trade, no other country in the world remotely comes close to Canada on the impact of U.S.-Canada trade relationship. The idea that an annual review of our trade pact and you'll give us this, and you know, they say, no, we won't. We're Canada. We're elbows up. You can kiss our ass. You say that until you lose about 3% of your trade. Going into 5% is devastating. It's devastating. It's beyond recession. It's depression. You don't even want to know. I can't even mathematically, mentally draw that picture at this point in time of how devastating a 10% loss is, let alone 15 or 20. I foresee something never seen ever in an Arctic nation. When I say that, I mean those above the 49th parallel, largely all of Canada. Of course, Ontario, right, even below, are going to be just devastated. And there's no California, New York, and odds and end northern states to bail you out. And if you think China's going to be there to deliver, you're sadly mistaken. They've cut all their military investments. They're struggling against the United States. Oh, sure. This is something else I want to teach everybody about global economics. That I just love the United States, and I love what Donald J. Trump said about corruption, even in his northern states, and addressing that. And they're going hard after that, which Americans absolutely should. You have the power. It's in your Constitution. It's addressable. Any two Americans largely can do that. And if you don't know that, I'm a member of the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, an American union shared with Canada. You can look at all our logos, Canada, USA together. We're not the only union, there's others. But we had a massive corruption just a few years ago. And Joe Jane Little Boilermakers took up the cause, went into one of what I call the Indian states with the People's Courts, and actually had the FBI, Homeland Security, and many others working for them. At no cost to them besides filing and having their own legal staff. But America, the institutions, went to work for those folks. Just average Joe Janes took on the high corruption, which goes to Ukraine. Same people involved in the 2022 attempt to transfer and laundry money from Ukraine back to Joe Biden and the Democrats. Yeah, it's official now, right? And that was in reported because the American system works, but kept silent by Democrat appointed persons in power, which they will be held accountable, or for some that have passed away, I guess not, but they will be held accountable when that comes through, and they will do time. That's a fact. For Canadians, your war on America, your massive investments, both Conservative and Liberal, Conservative Party of Canada, Liberal Party of Canada, yes, it was all absolutely under Justin Trudeau. But remember, Mark Carney's in there like a dirty shirt from UK at the time coming back to Canada. He was the initiator in absolutely the Conservative Party as Bank of Canada. We see all the commie propaganda, all his publications as Central Bank of Canada's governor. And there's so many. If you're an American, let alone a high Democrat committee, high Republican committee chairperson and member, and you went through all this, and they did, Mark Carney is public enemy number one northern border in mass majority. most Republicans and absolutely a majority clear of Democrats. There's no change going forward, folks. For Canada, you are absolutely finito. And I can't believe that it's so far in Canadians' face that anyone who goes on global affairs reads the foreign 2026-2027 report that goes all the way to Agenda 2030 completion, where Canada has no more trade and foreign relations with USA or everybody, most of the European Union and the world allies of USA. More than 34 positions terminated in the United States and many more all over the world, leaving us with what's called the D6. Can't even say B7 or G7 because none of those, half of them aren't in it. We're talking about Denmark, UK from Brexit. Then we're talking about Australia. Yeah, Australia's in on this. And then 4 other losers from the Asian Pacific Partnership the USA does not recognize. Canada's going full bore. That's all you have. And guess what your labor rights are in those realities? And if you signed on, if you got in through that to BRICS with China and India, guess where your wages sit? From what they are today, you can divide them by 4.5 times. Think about that. I'd be working for just over $12 an hour. How do I raise a family? How do I take care of my children? Let alone how they do. And that's a professional. Think about where you are. That's just an average, folks. So if you're at $40, you're at like $8 an hour. Do you like your inflation in Canada? Try making a go of it then. And if you didn't know, Canada's inflation right through the roof. Our dollar is going to be like this. And then there's the valuation in Mark Carney's massive borrowing, way more exponentially than the United States of America. Yeah, where do you think IMF is going to rank us in the next year? We lose trade. All of a sudden our GDP is artificial, which brings me to China. People talking about China's going to take over USA and GDP. Through what? Debt and taxation, right? Through centralization, a fake system, not real GDP, fake, borrowed, all of that. You're already seeing the shrinkage from China. What? You get experts telling you it's best to borrow and debt load the people because the people don't matter in any of these regimes. It's all about the success of the government officials and those who are elected and the mass majority who are appointed, which you just watched in Global Affairs. As Mark Carney retracts everything he said and is going the way of the Canada, China, UK mega embassy. China's going to be looking after all your trade relationships with the Asian world, the Pacific Partnership, because that's their sphere of influence. Really? If you missed it yesterday, Hitachi signed on, Japan got major nuclear deals, SMRs with the United States, not you, Canada. And that's something important to me, and it's a truth that has to be said. If we were Canada, the 51st state, I can tell you the most populous province, Ontario, would be absolutely global leader in their SMRs, all of their technology with the fuel conversion to enrichment that you can only get if UK were to give it to you, which they won't, or USA gives it to you, which they won't unless you accept the 51st state of the Union. Now, obviously, you could clearly get it through the European Union because we know European Union states have all those powers. We know 6 of them do. Backed by France, UNSC, P5. No one says a word. Oh, it's different for the European Union states, right? No, they get a free pass. But if you're attached to America, fuck you. Right? That really makes sense. And this is what scares me about this mass majority of elbows up Canadians and absolutely the radical lunatic Democrats at that 12% of the United States. But they don't say nothing about that. In Canada, and Canada's politicians don't tell you how much more powerful, how much more economically viable, not only as a 51st state, our GDP primary would exponentially grow to unforeseeable levels with that capital environment from the United States. Anyone who denies this is just a liar. Every expert should be trumpeting that horn saying, man, we could actually become a powerhouse, probably the most powerful state of the union, and generally making America the most powerful country absolutely in the world. And then when you look at free trade absolute, all these provincial problems and territorial problems, First Nations problems, all go away overnight, literally. Maybe not quite overnight, that's not, but I'll say within maximum 2 years, every problem is solved in Canada. You have absolutely no barriers to any trade for anybody from any way of life. You've already proceeded on the path to a real constitution. You will cement that, and you will have free trade for First Peoples and Canadians, divided but yet equal peoples. You'll have real property rights, real landmass made available to you. Both peoples, equal citizens. For First Nations, it's nations within the nation called Canada, the 51st state. No more provincial barriers, no more huge ballooned government. And then, here's the beautiful part. You get all the powers of America on the world stage, which means all these taboo things before that international law bars you from open up exponentially. You can now change all your fuel sources in Canada, where again, what? You have the greatest source of ore for the highly enriched uranium in the world, bar nobody else. That would be you, Canada. They talk about clean energy and all this stuff. Canada could literally run the entire North America forevermore for 1,000 years. If it was just us, we'll just say 500 million. Let's say we grew to 500 million people. We would have unlimited energy for 1,000 years just by Canada becoming the 51st state, meaning no one freezes, no one worries, at least in electricity. A lot of these things that seemed impossible before or highly unlikely become just commonplace. We have access to all the other 50 states of the Union, full free trade, and we're contributing to North America. And you not only would balance the budget, you absolutely half the federal debt to deficit level right now just by expanding your asset base. Right now, it's Crown land. A lot of people have that all wrong, all entirely wrong. I see provincial people saying, we're going to leave with the provincial Crown land. You mean just like the federal government says they will? You have nothing there. You have nothing controlling those areas. I've seen your military districts. The United States knows because their military districts are taking care of all of your untaken care of military districts. Guess what lands those are known as? That America has to take care of, and you can't. You don't even have a design to do that, Canada. You're the Great Wall of China. I haven't lied about that. And when you look at the Great Wall of China and you look at Canada's official military districts, every region and the entire federal government of Canada have a problem. They don't protect or guard any of their crown lands. Zero, zip, zilch, none at all. You don't even look after your forests. Why do you think you have massive forest fires? You're a garbage can country with no sovereignty. Never had it. It's always been a big, fat lie. Now let's say you're America. You have massive technology that they're showcasing to all of you. They've got their Starlink up and they look at Canada. Yeah, this region claims all of that, yet they don't have any control of that. We do. Florida takes care more of Canada's crown lands, just the state of Florida, by a factor of 17 to 1 than Canada can for its entire country, right? And then regions who've never even gotten involved, who have no clue, no provincial constitutions, claim that as theirs. What do you think the United States thinks? I don't care who you are, Democrat or Republican. This is very common sense level things. Geez, my country supports all of you and all of that land that you claim is yours, and you make us pay, and we're the only ones who pay a fair return because we give proper royalties. Well, you have side deals with all these shit monarch countries who, in fact, don't pay anything at all. And some of them own the lands, the lakes, the resources entirely, and not only don't pay anything, pay no taxes, and get subsidized by the Canadian workers who work on their holdings. And it's like the old American song from way back, "The company stole." That's a big chunk of Canada's what are called unceded lands, still crown lands, but this is where there's literally nothing but foreign powers in absolute control, giveth away by your Canadian crown. They don't care like a lot of other shit countries, right? It's all in support of AKA the British Empire, and in support of the British Empire, UK, in holding other deals they have in other crooked areas of the world where they operate, enriching the few against the many. It's all coming to an end. America's done with it. Democrats aren't quite there yet. They're still on the Epstein, but I'm going to leave you all with this. For all of you lunatic leftists, massive in Canada, but there's a rising, noisy bunch in America. Again, you keep screaming, Epstein, Epstein, oh, Trump's a pedophile. You ignore the worst thing imaginable is Canada and Peter Nygard, who clearly in the Epstein files that none of you talk about, because you obviously haven't read them. You're all liars. You're all liars. And you're supporting pedophiles, because that is what Canada is. And if you've never looked at the regions of Canada and these other actors, bad actors, constitutional monarchies, look at the age of majority for a child to an adult. Some places it's 14 years old. Some it's 8 years old. I can tell you the average in Canada is between 14 and 16 years old. America, who are the pedophiles? Come on, dig deep. It's easily read and found as the number one highlight of the Epstein files is Peter Nygard, Canadian, who was the mentor and trainer of Jeffrey Epstein, Mossad agent, heavily tied to UK, all his travels unearthed. We got that New Mexico truth now. That's all unredacted, made available to all of you. But yet, no, I don't want to see any truth. He's a pedophile, even though I'm supporting people who think 8 to 14 to 16-year-old kids are mature adults capable of making decisions to have marriages and relationships with 40 to 60-year-old men. Because I'm not a pedophile, you're a fucking pedo, man. You're the pedo. You're the problem. Your hatred of Donald J. Trump is blinding you to the truth of a massive global corruption, anti-American, anti-humanity reality and truth. Read your Democrat congressional reports. They're there. Nygard's called out. He was the giant with a massive Epstein empire through the Commonwealth. And he took a young Jeffrey Epstein on tour of his pedo islands. Much, much larger than anything America's ever seen through Jeffrey Epstein. Much, much larger. And remember, we're Canadian. 10 to almost 9.5 times less your population. Think when we talk about thousands of children are named in Nygard. He's only doing 11 years. Your Democrats demanded that he be sent to USA to answer questions, be interviewed, to be extradited. Guess what Canada said? Fuck you. Why? Oh yeah, the royal families, not just UK, 9 kingdoms, and all of Canadian politicians. You're going to get Bill Gates here. You're going to get a bunch of Americans here. I can tell you Bill Gates is dead to rights guilty. Those Russian girls, that's just one thing through Jeffrey Epstein. The Peter Nygard Bill Gates shit is huge, even bigger. You'll find him in BC with all the same actors, going to the TED conferences, going all over the Caribbean island nations. Through who? Peter Nygard. The mentor to Jeffrey Epstein, meaning the monster who was going longer than Jeffrey Epstein. He's alive and well in Canadian jails. Again, called out by Democrats to be put into interviews through extradition. And the Canadian Crown goes, never. And now they have a mass, we hate America. We're going to fight America. We're going to destroy all trade and relations with America. What are you scared of? What are you running from? I already know the answer to these questions. Accountability, responsibility, international human rights, real civil rights, everything that's beautiful about America, whether Americans want to hear that or not. You're a beautiful thing. And if you've ever spent any time being a global subject of any of these crazy regimes, you would understand where we are. But I get it. You don't suffer it. It's like a spoiled child thing for a lot of these radicals. I'm not talking all Americans. A lot of you aren't like that. And that's Democrat included in majority. But I'm talking about those radical 12%. Absolutely the crazy side of what they call libertarian. It's a 50-50 divide. And anyone ever questions that, I'm pretty well good friends with the former leader of Canada's Libertarian Party for a very, very long time. We've had many discussions. In fact, I drive his car. I bought his car from him, posted, I guess 2 years ago now, and I'm still running it. But that's the truth. That's the truth, that there's a radical positioning here. People claim to be libertarian, but they don't respect property rights. We want all these rights at the expense of everybody else's. That's not libertarian. That's radical socialist and fascist. Gimme at your expense. I'm superior, you're inferior. My rights are superior, yours are inferior. Welcome to everything that's a liberal and a conservative in Canada, known as Whig and Tory, the haters of America, America's oldest war, entirely running forever a day, still today. You can call it a proxy war, and I hate to say this, that British Empire system on the propaganda, mind control, conditioning through all of it has really infected a lot of the northern states. And I'm not saying civil war like the southern states when that was purged in 1866, but that kind of deinstitutionalization of these northern states, Democrat states, has to happen. It has to happen constitutionally, that Americans need to see that at the state level, and the federal government's got to get busy on that, or they're going to die. America is going to die. That's a fact. But I don't see America dying. I believe that the Constitution, oldest one in the world, will continue on, and America will evolve itself out. Why do I say that? Why am I such a positive person on that? Because I read history, the entire history of America, and over again, the American Constitution wins, Americans win, we the people always win. So if it's 99.9 out of 1,000, what would you bet on? Well, I'll bet on America, and I'll say fuck all the media, fuck the Canadian government, fuck the British Empire, and the rest of the dirty bird, socialist and fascist, entire monarchies. They think they're going to get this D6, led by Mark Carney, is going to win China, win India. India is still not officially on board. And I'm going to tell you, neither's China. Now, who is the Hormuz Canal? Who can control that? If USA wins that, as they won Venezuela, as they're winning others, they're getting Cuba, I'm sorry, but China's going to say our energy security, as well as India, and these are 1.5 billion, 1.1 billion I guess in the next decade, they're both going to be about 1.5 billion people, 3 billion people. What do you think they're going to say? Sorry, shitty D6. We'd rather be with the other 58 nations led by USA. Your 6 are not going to change our results. Now, if you want to go to third world status and be one of those states, sure, go crush your economy. Talk to us then. As sad as that is, I can't make this stuff up. Anyways, folks, that's my video. Huge, epic. If you've missed Trump today, you should go watch it. I'm watching a lot of people because names on the signature drive, I couldn't believe it on the White House. I just want to say this. From the petition drive, now I see a lot of you. I'm like, holy crap, you're all motivated, which is great. And that means you're watching all of it, you're learning, you're listening, you're seeing, hey, if you've watched any of my videos just in the last couple of weeks, look how much Trump has changed the way he talks. Sounds a lot like how I talk. Proper and international law on the New World Order, the victorious allies of World War II. And more than that, for the next stage of a higher thinking, if you haven't noticed, Allies and Axis, colonial wars, I call them 1 and 2, what a lot of people won't tell you is Trump's winning former Axis with imposed constitutions. I showcased Japan for you, what they've been since 1947. And everybody, that's after what was Nuremberg trials. There was a Nuremberg 2. Japan was second. They had over 1,500 government and military executed and put to death by the Allies of World War II, aka the UNSC P5. USA's run with the world and in conjunction with the UNSC, they've ran 83 of these. Created the most nations in the world. But Japan got an imposed We the People Constitution. USA has now made a deal with that former Axis power who's very happy to be finally, and yeah, a lot of people highlighted what happened with the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor and how that, here we are today, that we can actually big breath out. It's okay. This happened. You've moved on. You've changed your country. Welcome to America. That is massive trade Canada could have had and still can be a part of, but it means Canada the 51st state. You can have all your automotive back, all of it, and higher wages too for the Canadian people with less taxes. But they don't want to tell you that. They don't. It's better to have a scabby workforce, lower the wages, increase the wealthy elite share of the wealth consolidation, the wealthy 1%. We want more. That's who you support. If you're a Conservative Party of Canada or a Liberal Party of Canada or any of the federal parties, ultimately, if you're still down with this system and you got a brain thing where you're going, Canada's got to be a country, even though you've never really been one, your Constitution clearly tells you you're a garbage can colony state. And until you have anything else that you can do, which you can't do because the Crown made it impossible, that's why Canada, the 51st state, is the best path forward. And apparently this summer, we're going to find out the hard way why you don't listen to socialists and fascists, why you don't trust people like Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, and any of the rest of them. You're going to learn the hard way. It's undeniable now. Mark Carney is the one doing it. He wants to take you to a communist reality. He thinks, but I'm not so sure China's going to even go for that. I'm not even sure India's going to go for it. He wants the BRICS. He wants a D6 leaving the G7, meaning economically going down the toilet so they can join a lower grouping of absolute tyrants. That's your Mark Carney. Folks, that's my video. Get it out there. God bless. Share, share, share. People need to hear this. Love you all. Bye now.